Welcome, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming your way to review a title that I've been, over the years, kind of asked to review several times, and I finally just, it's freaking dead of winter in Minnesota, it's single digit temperatures, it's crap, and life's, I guess it could be worse, it could be living in California, I guess. But yeah, so dead of winter, Minnesota, life's cold and there's nothing to do, so I'm like, let's actually watch this. It's free on tubetv.com, or at least at the time I watched it. Let's watch it and finally review this, because it's something that I've been kind of interested in, but just haven't had the interest enough to see it. And it's kind of interesting, as we'll get into the review, and it kind of maybe is a little bit of a review spoiler. But it's kind of interesting. I don't think this necessarily happens all the time, but it's almost like I got some kind of intuition regarding movies and how I feel and how I would like movies. Because a lot of times these kind of titles that takes me a while to get to are kind of titles that I end up not really even liking that much. So it's like, do I know? Do I have this movie, all-seeing eye freaking ability to know if I'm going to like a movie or not? I mean, not in every case, but I mean, a lot of times, like, same thing with the Stepfather movies, although I probably like the Stepfather movies maybe more than I liked this movie. So basically stopping on by this time to review the motion picture from 1989 by the name of Intruder. Now, as I said, this has been a title that I've known about for years and years and years, and I think I've had people for, going back years asking me to review this, asking if I've seen this, and I'd always respond, well, I can't remember what I'd respond, but I probably responded, no, I haven't seen it, I should really watch it someday. That day has finally arrived, and as I said, I was able to see it on tubetv.com. And this movie came out, I guess, in 1989, and it's directed and maybe partly written by Scott Spiegel. He's kind of a buddy of the old, like, Sam Raimi and company, crew. Kind of, I think he had little involvement in the Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 and stuff. I can't exactly remember what involvement he had to do with those movies, but I know I'm familiar with the name. So Scott Spiegel was part of the 80s and possibly into the 90s, like Sam Raimi and company crew, Sam Raimi crew and stuff. And this movie has had so many, like, home video iterations. I'm familiar with the fact that, like, Sam Raimi was, I always saw, like, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell's name on the cover art or poster art or whatever, and it turns out that Sam Raimi has a bit part as an actor in the movie. Of course, so does his brother Ted Raimi, and Bruce Campbell, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but Bruce Campbell just is in a cameo at the very end as a policeman. At the very end makes an appearance, and it's just like, God, they put Bruce Campbell on the cover art as, and it's just like, I mean, Sam Raimi at least is kind of more in the movie, but it's just so weird how Bruce Campbell just had that little bit part at the end. And also that woman who played Molly in Sleepaway Camp 2 is also in this. It's always fun to see her. I think the only other thing I've seen her in besides Sleepaway Camp 2 was Heathers. I want to say she's in Heathers as well. And the hit guy, the hit guy from Evil Dead 2, and he's also in Darkman as well. He's a, I guess a featured part of the cast, or featured member, I guess, of the cast in this movie as well. This movie revolves around just like this grocery store, kind of independent grocery store, and all the employees that are working there are kind of like, I guess, I don't know if it's a overnight shift or whatever the hell it is, but towards the beginning of the movie they get kind of the somber news that this mom and pop grocery store they're gonna sell it. The two guys that are partners, I want to say one guy owns 51% and the other guy I think owns 49%. The two partners that I want to say own this place early in the movie, before the night shift begins or whatever. They kind of announce to the employees, the grocery store employees, of which Sam Raimi and Ted Raimi and Molly from Sleepaway Camp 3 are part of the employees. And this kind of relatively attractive chick and some other people, I would imagine. Only seen it once, can't necessarily remember everything on just one viewing, but they get the dreaded news that this grocery store is they're gonna close it down. They've had it or whatever. I can't remember the reason, but I think they just had it with the grocery store or whatever. So that kind of sets a somber mood or whatever for this movie. And I can't remember if there's like any at the beginning. I can't even remember how it begins. Like if it begins. Oh, I think the opening credits are like with a full moon or whatever. And incidentally, I think Full Moon maybe possibly currently own the rights to this, which is interesting. The version I saw on Tubi TV, I think Full Moon was the last distributor actually put it out, so they might currently own the rights. It was interesting to see the Full Moon logo before the movie, and then the opening credits I think happen over a full moon. That was appropriate, but the movie just revolves around a night, kind of a night shift at this mom and pop grocery store, and it was cool to see like the mom and pop grocery store from the late 80s, being a kid of the 70s and having grown up all in the 80s and stuff. It was kind of nostalgic going back and seeing like, ooh, 80s era grocery store. And I can remember that they see like TV guides and stuff, but there was that one thing on the one aisle there that like, this lane closed, this thing that they put on the little conveyor belt, and I'm like, oh my god, I remember those. And it was just honestly the coolest thing about this movie was just like seeing like the 80s era mom and pop grocery store, which I guess was actually closed down, and they rented to film there. They rented this closed down grocery store to film there, and they actually had to go through a company to get damaged groceries items or something to stock the shelves to make it look like an actual operating grocery store, which ironically in this context of the movie is also going to go out of business. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, the premise of this movie is just, just what horror and terror ensues at this overnight shift at the grocery store, and what horrors befall all of the employees. They thought this would be a good tagline, like they thought the store going out of business was bad news. Just wait. Intruder. Something I could probably improve on that tagline, but yeah, that would be a good tagline. But yeah, I guess I can simply say that this movie didn't blow my ass out of the water. Kind of, more or less highly regarded or favorably, I think, regarded more or less among film, slasher horror movie, 80s slasher horror movie film fans. And admittedly, we're all not going to like the same thing, and this thing really didn't do a hell of a lot for me. I guess I felt like a lot of it was unfortunately filler, and seeing the whole thing take place at the grocery store was maybe not the most amazing thing in the world for me. And we've got gore effects by well, I don't think they're officially K&B yet, but the guys, Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger and whatever else the other guy is, or at least two of them I think were involved in the gore effects. Of course they'd work, this is like as I say, Scott Spiegel, buddies with Sam Raimi and company and stuff, and they KMB or whatever, maybe just two of the guys, whatever, worked obviously on Evil Dead 2 as well and stuff. So this is like the early years of what would go on to be, K&B doing the gore effects. And I will say, obviously, I can only assume the version I saw on TubiTV.com was the uncut full version. I can only assume, which, obviously the gore. I mean, I was familiar with the various cover arts, and the head sitting there with like cut in half, and top of the head placed on the bottom of the head where it was like, facing the wrong way. I was familiar with like the cover art, and incidentally, I don't even know what the hell poster I'm going to use for this review. I don't know. I probably use maybe the more recent, well-known one or whatever. But it was like, I looked online, there's like fucking 4 different covers for this over the years, and it's just like, I generally like to use the first, poster art or the original poster art for a movie. I don't know if this really even had a poster or like an original poster. I really don't know, but you've obviously seen, you know, the poster that I used for this review before I saw the poster I used for this review. But basically, just this, just a dark and creepy night at the grocery store night shift, and an intruder stalks the employees. And I'm not going to spoil what ends up happening with, I guess, the identity of the intruder, or the you know, intruder slash murderer or killer, or whatever the hell you want to call it. But I mean, it's always interesting to see like Ted Raimi and especially Sam Raimi acting. I wonder what the whole thing with like Sam Raimi wanting to act was. I guess it was just like something, kind of just an extra little thing he wanted to dabble in. Of course, he made some cameo appearances in at least 2 John Landis movies that I'm aware of. You know, Spies Like Us and Innocent Blood. He appeared in a couple, at least 2, possibly more, John Landis movies as cameos. Obviously, he was actually a featured, you know, character in Indian Summer, and who knows how many movies Sam Raimi appeared in as like a character. Must have been just kind of a side interest for him, wanting to appear in certain movies from, you know, as a performer. I mean, you know, obviously Ted Raimi was more of the you know, in front of camera individual more so than Sam, but Sam obviously dabbled in, you know, in front of camera stuff as well. But yeah, honestly, you know, I kind of feel bad when I get requests to review movies and then I review them and I don't feel, or don't particularly love them. I feel like I'm going to let people down. But I mean, at the end of the day, you know, what I think about a movie that you might like doesn't have to ruin the movie for you or whatever. We're not all going to like the same things. But unfortunately, kind of a snooze fest, I'm afraid, for the Intruder, for this reviewer being me, huge movie fanatic Nate. I can only go 1.5 stars out of 4 stars for Intruder. Might honestly, the star rating might honestly be a little high, honestly, or that rating might be a little high. But you know, one positive takeaways from this movie is like the, you know, it takes place all at night, so some of the dark, creepy cinematography in the ramshackle freaking grocery store, and obviously the gore, some of the gore stuff is kind of I guess the main, you know, selling point of this movie or whatever. But you know, I was kind of, you know, I guess surprised, disappointed at how kind of, you know, for being like I don't know, this guy being a buddy of Sam Raimi and company, it's just like couldn't do a little better than this. And but you know, whatever, it's just my particular take on it or whatever. But yeah, you know, I won't be rushing out to buy The Intruder on Blu-ray or DVD or anything, that's for darn sure. But I can understand why people, you know, that watch my channel and are horror film fans as well as I am, I can understand why, you know, they'd be interested in knowing what I think of The Intruder. I can't help but just feel like, you know, just bad for letting, you know, potentially letting people down. But it's just, that's kind of the, I guess, softy kind of personality I got. I feel it's like, oh guys, I'm sorry, I don't like this movie. You know, the Stepfather movies were, you know, I think a little more enjoyable just because they're, I don't know if they were, I can only assume they were bigger budget. And when you have a whole movie just take place in this one store, it's just kind of, especially when maybe stuff isn't that interesting going on, it's just like, I can, you know, I can definitely leave it instead of take it in this case. But I guess that'll do it for my review of Intruder. Is it just simply Intruder, or is it The Intruder? I think it's just Intruder. I guess that'll pretty much do it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, we'll catch you on the next video.